Hi everyone, I'm Alex Dykes, and today we are out here taking a look at the all-new 2016 Scion IA. Design partnerships are not new for Toyota or for Scion. In fact, right now on dealer lots you will find the Scion FRS, which is also the Subaru BRZ and Toyota 86. That vehicle was co-developed between Toyota and Subaru, with Subaru taking the lead in a large portion of the design. This vehicle is based off of the Mazda 2, again with Mazda taking the majority of the lead on the design. They then tweaked a few things for the North American market and are selling it here as a Scion. Toyota has been working at making their designs a little bit more dramatic and some might say a little bit more polarizing lately. That's definitely going on the front of the Scion IA. This looks very different than the Mazda 2 that you'll find in other international markets. It kind of reminds me of sort of an Angry Bird character. In terms of overall size, this is about a foot shorter than your average compact sedan in the United States. So this is a decent amount smaller than the Toyota Corolla, the Honda Civic, etc. The sort of Angry Birds theme continues out back with these tail lamps that slant downwards as they go inwards, and the Mazda influence is a little bit more visible right back here than it is up front. Under the hood we find a very unique drivetrain designed by Mazda. This is their 1.5-liter four-cylinder engine. It produces just over 100 horsepower and just over 100 pound-feet of torque. Now that may not sound like a lot of power, but the Scion IA only weighs about 2,400 pounds, so it is a decent amount of power for something this light. Unlike the Scion IM or Toyota's own Yaris, we use different transmissions under this hood. It uses either a 6-speed short-throw manual transmission or a 6-speed automatic transmission. Front seat comfort is good for this segment. We have a tilt telescopic steering column with a decent range of motion, and we have a multi-way manual adjustable seat. With the front seat adjusted for me at 6 feet tall, I do have a reasonable amount of room sitting behind myself. You will notice that the seat bottom cushion is a little bit close to the floor. That will make it more comfortable for children than adults, but I do have about an inch of legroom left right there. Hard touch plastics are not unusual in this segment, and you will find things like a hard touch upper dashboard, but you'll also find some unusual things like a soft touch stitched portion right here, right above the glove box. The glove box is a reasonably sized glove box as well. Nestled in the dashboard, you'll notice something very different than the other Toyota or Scion models, and that is we have a 7-inch color touchscreen LCD mounted onto the dashboard, sort of like an iPad grafted onto the dashboard. Now this is a color touchscreen LCD, and it operates essentially the same way as the Mazda system in the current generation Mazda 3, also the new Mazda 6 and CX-5. It operates essentially the same, although this is the latest version of the software, so it does have a few more of the kinks worked out that we noticed in that first generation of this particular system. This makes this very different than every other entry in the segment because, again, this is standard in all models. Now, the optional navigation software can be purchased from the dealer after you purchase the vehicle, but everything else that you see in this system is bundled with the IA in all configurations. Below that screen, we have a round air vent for the driver, a square one for the passenger, hazard lights, single zone manual climate control, and then working our way lower from that, we have the SD card slot for the built-in navigation software. And we also have 2 USB inputs. I have my iPhone 6 connected right there and a 12-volt power outlet. We also have a decent amount of storage space right there, but it's not covered. All models of the XA come standard with keyless go, so that's what the key looks like, and you'll find the start-stop button right over here behind the windshield wiper stalk. Behind the shifter is where we find the control knob for that infotainment system. Obviously, the nav will only work if you have the nav software. We have a home button, media button, favorite button, back button. This is power and volume, and then this control stick toggles side to side, up to down, rotates around, and then selects to enter. This is a urethane steering wheel. It's not leather wrapped like you'll find in the Scion IM, but we do have a lot of direct access buttons here on either side. Volume up, down. The info button is for that trip computer, track forward, backward, voice command button, dedicated phone hang-up and pickup buttons, and then our cruise control buttons on the right side. Cruise control is also standard in all models of the IA. Out on these winding mountain highways is really where you'll notice that the IA definitely has some Mazda DNA under the skin, because this feels an awful lot more sorted than any of the other Scions on the lot, except for perhaps the TC in certain versions, definitely with the TRD packages over there on the TC, and the FRS, of course. This does feel more composed than most of the entries in this segment as well. Now, I have heard a few people complain this doesn't feel quite as planted as the Mazda 2, and that would probably be the last generation Mazda 2, since the current generation isn't sold in the US, and I would have to agree, this doesn't feel quite as planted as that, quite as direct, but this is still probably the best in its segment. Fuel economy is also best in this segment. I've been averaging 29 miles per gallon, even though I have been driving this car only on winding mountain roads like this for about an hour and a half. The ride is pretty much what you'd expect from an entry in this category. The short wheelbase does make it a little bit rough over washboard pavement, but overall it's fairly well composed. On broken pavement, the IA feels much more composed than Toyota's own Yaris, and we actually get slightly better fuel economy than we get in the Nissan Versa with the automatic transmission versus Nissan's CVT. This is without a doubt the best 6-speed manual in this particular segment. The throws are nice and short, the clutch pedal engagement has a very good feel to it, it's very linear, the engagement is very easy to find, and the notchiness of this transmission shifter is just about perfect. When it comes to handling, certain versions of the Ford Fiesta I think handle a little bit better than this. They definitely feel a little bit better than this in the corners, but the handling is quite good. A lot of that comes down to the rubber choice that Scion chose for these tires on this particular vehicle. I think I would have chosen something a little bit more aggressive. Trade-off there, of course, is fuel economy. Because we have just over 100 horsepower under the hood, when it comes to acceleration, you should expect hybrid-like times. When it comes to comparisons, price is the most important thing to keep in mind when you're comparing this with the competition, because the IA only comes one way. You select manual transmission or automatic transmission, but all the options are identical on all the models. That means we get things like cruise control, we get that pre-collision system right up here behind the rear view mirror, we get a standard speedometer, tachometer, this 7-inch LCD color touchscreen infotainment system. All of that is standard, and that's not what you find in all the competitors out there. That's really important when you want to put this up against something like a base Nissan Versa. Obviously, this is going to cost more than the base Versa, but you're going to get an awful lot more in this vehicle. If you were to comparably equip the Fiesta, the Sonic, the Elantra wagon, as well as the Nissan Versa, you'd end up either right about the same price as this or actually a little bit more expensive. The Sonic and the Fiesta definitely end up about $1,000 to $1,500 more than this. Now that said, you still won't find all these options in the competition, especially things like this pre-collision system. The pre-collision system in the IA is very similar to what Volvo uses in their city safety system. It has some sensors right up here behind the rearview mirror, and it will automatically operate between approximately 2 and 18 miles an hour. The primary mission of this system is to help mitigate accidents in urban situations. So although it may take you to a complete stop depending on the situation, its primary goal is to reduce the collision speed and thereby lessen the severity of the accident. Now, unlike some of the other systems out there, this system is not combined with a radar cruise control system. So there's no adaptive cruise functionality, it's just regular old cruise control and this collision mitigating system. I'm going to surprise myself a little here because I don't think I've ever called a Scion best in segment before, and this Scion IA really is. Perhaps that's because it has the combination of Scion value and Mazda driving dynamics, as well as this Mazda infotainment system, but whatever the reason really is, this is quite simply the best subcompact sedan in this particular category. I would expand that a little bit to also include the direct subcompact hatch comparisons like the Versa and the Sonic. Obviously, we don't have the same kind of practicality in the cargo area that you find in your average hatch in this category, but we do have a lot of things that compensate, namely, again, this infotainment and navigation system and the excellent driving dynamics in the IA. Now, Scions in the past have been very good values, but I haven't said that they're very good values and the best overall in the segment, and both of those awards actually go to the IA, because this is not only the overall best in this segment, but when you take a look at the price tag, it also is an incredible buy. Now, the one thing I haven't had answered for me yet at this launch event is exactly how much the navigation software will cost for this particular infotainment system. I suspect it's probably going to be about $800 or $900. It's probably going to be about as expensive as most of the other entries. Often the trickiest comparisons are the closest to home, and that's true for the Scion IA, because it will be sold very close to the Toyota Yaris. And the Yaris does not handle quite as well as this vehicle. I think it's a little bit more boring looking, the interior isn't quite as nice, the engine isn't quite as smooth, and the fuel economy is considerably better in the Scion IA as well. In addition to all of that, the infotainment system is definitely a notch above everything else that Toyota has at this end of the scale. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Again, I'm Alex Dykes, and this has been the 2016 Scion IA. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and be updated on all of our latest videos. You can check out related videos on this particular channel, as well as the upcoming review on the new 2016 Scion IM, which is a 4-door hatchback and not related to this at all. I'll see you next week.